I am here with David Azizi from the law offices of David Azizi, and recently in the town in which I grew up, there was a really bad explosion in a boiler room in Robbinsville, North Carolina at Stanley Furniture, and it actually caused three men to get injured, one being severely burned and possibly causing amputation. They've yet to determine if he's going to lose his thumb or not, but the concern is that this Stanley Furniture facility was not up to OSHA standards. It had been purchased in 1985, and many in the hometown know that standards were not met in that particular facility for a long time, which was one of the reasons it was closing. So, David, when OSHA gets involved, the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, I know you've been a part of one of those cases. What basically happens when OSHA gets involved with a personal injury type case like that?
Well, what happens in those type of cases, well, first of all, I got to make the distinction that if you get injured on your employer's premises and it's something that your employer did, here in California, your exclusive remedy against your employer is workers' compensation. Now, there are some exceptions in the event that the employer forces you to do something. There's some additional stuff that can bring you out of workers' comp and pursue a third-party claim against your employer, but those are certain limited circumstances, and those, what I would say, is best for you to contact a lawyer such as myself who can take over the case, look over it, and determine as to whether you can go beyond an exclusive remedy of workers' compensation. But assuming a scenario where I've had a case where my client was an employee of the air conditioning company who had gone off-site to a business to install an air conditioning. And in that particular circumstance, the business had one of these electrical boxes that are signs outside placed towards the roof. And this guy, poor guy, went out there to install the air conditioning. He came over to reach over to get a tool, and while he was waiting for his coworker to get the tool, he happened to just touch the electrical box sign, and because it was improperly wired and it was basically a charged box, the individual poor client got electrocuted. And as a result, OSHA came out because it was an employee that got injured because of the employer to investigate, and they determined that yes, there were so many violations. So in theory, it helped our case tremendously because OSHA came onto the scene right away. They were able to preserve the evidence. They were able to look at the electrical box and determine that it was not properly set up and that the outside of the box, which should have been grounded, acted the opposite, and that it was essentially a electrocution box that caused the electrocution of my client. So in the case that you're talking about, I'm sure that this type of explosion must have happened because of some negligence. I mean, there are circumstances that explosions can happen just without anybody's negligence. But I would imagine that OSHA is going to probably find a lot of violations that this premises or owner of the business had committed, and as a result caused this explosion and what I hear is severe injury of these poor individuals.
So, and that's as a lot of people have been in situations where they are working in standards where OSHA is not up to code, and that's very unfortunate. And in most developed areas, they try to get up to code, but some developed areas they don't. So if you have been hurt in a case where you're working off-site, or you've had an amputation injury or a burn or explosion injury, please feel free to contact the law offices of David Azizi. You will find the phone number both below in the YouTube information as well as above. Thank you for your time, David.
All right, thank you.